Over the last few years, several different phones have gained the ability to take incredibly impressive photos of the moon. The most recent one that I've owned that's been able to do an incredible job of that is the OnePlus Open. Now, every time I post anything about that, I post one of these moon pictures or I show one of them in a video, a camera comparison, something like that. I have people say the same thing. Yeah, but the moon shots are fake. In fact, there was just a Reddit post yesterday by Reddit user Taco145, the 145th taco to post on Reddit. And this is what they had to say. Just in case some of you weren't sure, OnePlus uses tricks on moon photos, and they show sort of three different images here that are actually really, really interesting. So in this video, we're going to try to dig in a little bit and determine, first off, are they fake? But then deeper than that, what do we mean by fake? So let's just look at these images here first. So normal moon post-processing. So this is just a shot that they took of the moon, and I think we can all agree that it looks incredible for a 3x sensor, which is granted a full, crop to 6x is still lossless, but this is probably like 30x or higher. It looks absolutely incredible. Now, the next picture that they show here is actually a screenshot from inside their viewfinder, and in this screenshot, you can see that there is a tree with some very thin limbs poking out in front of the moon, and then once they snapped that picture, what you can see happened here is the little bits of the tree's branch that were obstructing the moon have been sort of transformed into craters on the moon. So it's seeing these leaves and thinking maybe those are craters, and it's doing something that is turning them into craters. So if you look at that and you go, well, that is fake, I would understand where you're coming from. But again, I think that we need to dig just a little bit deeper, because I think that there's a broader misunderstanding about how these devices yes, the sensors are getting bigger and bigger. They are now oftentimes close to or at 1 inch, which is not a true 1 inch long set. Whatever. I'm not going to get into that. The hardware is getting better and better, but the actual photos we're getting are incredible at this point, right? Like in a lot of ways, a lot of the time, they are rivaling full proper cameras, and they are not doing this with the hardware. The hardware is getting better, but the software is what is allowing that to happen. Like I said, I think there's a misunderstanding about how this works. There is, as we want to put it in this post here, AI enhancements on every single photo you take with your smartphone. This has been the case for quite a while. Many people will credit the original Google Pixel with being the phone that sort of kicked off this computational photography renaissance, or revolution, perhaps you could say, that we are still in now, that has only gotten stronger and stronger as time goes by. So what I want to do here is we're going to look at some pictures, some screenshots that I took, and I'm going to try to kind of show you what I mean. So this is obviously a screenshot of my viewfinder. Now this picture is taken in pretty good lighting. There's actually quite a bright light here. It's well lit. So this is, like I said, a screenshot of the viewfinder. This is the actual photo that was taken. And you can look at this and say, that is pretty similar, right? There's not a huge difference one to the other, but there are still yet some differences. If we look in the darker areas, it's going to be difficult to see because it's a screenshot and I can't really zoom in too far. But if you look over here, there is definitely more noise than there is on this image. This is very, very smooth and crisp, whereas this does have some noise. And this was taken, again, like I said, in what you could call the best possible, lighting that you could take this sort of photo in. And we are seeing some denoising. Okay, so these phones have what's called an ISP, an image signal processor, a pipeline the pictures are run through where they are processed. And what we're seeing on this image in particular is a denoising process that is taking place to reduce the noise. Look down here and look down here. There is a lot less noise. So this next image is taken in sort of a slightly darker area. You can see that the night mode is engaging, but it was very, very brief, like not even a second, maybe like a quarter of a second with this night mode turned on. And if we look here and look at the final picture, you can see similar things happening. There is a denoising that is going on. I think that the green looks slightly different one to the other. It's not a huge difference, but I think it does look a little bit different one to the other. Interestingly enough, if you look back here, look at the grooves in this clamp. You can see these little crossbars in it. This was not with portrait mode turned on. Yet in this picture, those are gone. You cannot see those anymore. The depth of field seems to be a little bit almost exaggerated. And again, this is not portrait mode, but still, portrait mode type things appear to be happening. Look at the lines back here in the wall. They're very hard to see now. Lots of things are happening. Lots of processing is occurring because it's being run through the ISP. There is AI enhancement happening even on these images. But let's look once again at what I think is the best example of this. We're in portrait mode with the 3x lens. Look at this picture. I'm holding very still. You can make out no definition on his fur at all. The blur that it's sort of superimposing does not look good at all. Of course, this is artificial already, but it really does not look good. The definition, the clarity is terrible. Take the actual picture, and it's a great shot. It is highly detailed. And of course, this blur is fake. This blur is fake. You could argue that almost everything in this image is, to some degree, fake because AI has greatly enhanced every single aspect about it. So when we come back to this image, what's happening here? Why is this getting turned into a bunch of craters? Well, this is how this sort of thing actually works. Your phone, your camera, when it goes to process these images, it can recognize to a large degree what it is looking at. And it will then apply a series of, call them filters, call them enhancements, whatever you want to say they are. It applies those based on what it's looking at, based on the composition of the shot. Okay, so it recognizes a dog and then does dog enhancements to the photo. Take a picture of the pizza that you ate last night. It's going to recognize food, and it will apply food enhancements to it. When it looks at the moon, things can get really, really crazy because, I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but the moon is tidally locked to the planet. So when you look at it, it looks exactly the same every time. The only thing that changes is how much of it you can see as it, will go away or it will come back. It will go through its different phases, but it looks the same every time. The craters don't really move. So this algorithm for the moon can be incredibly well optimized, okay? Because it's like you're taking a picture of the same pizza every single time. Well, the AI can get really, really good at making that pizza look unbelievable because it doesn't change. The moon doesn't change. The algorithm can get really, really, really fine-tuned. It knows what the craters kind of should look like. So when it sees this, it thinks that it's craters, and so it applies filters to it that sort of smear them and sort of colorize them, and you end up with fake craters. Now, something that had persisted as a rumor for years was that companies were just taking a texture of the moon and slapping it on top of your photos. That is clearly not what they've been doing, and it's not what's happening here. This is part of an extremely aggressive image signal processing pipeline that is turning these branches into craters. This is not just a texture being slapped on top. This is processing that is happening. You could argue that it is so aggressive that it takes this level of fake and it takes it to a level that, maybe you'd say that's too fake for me to even be able to appreciate, and I totally get that. But what we need to be kind of aware of here is that what we're talking about when we go from photos like this to photos like this is a difference in degree, not in technique, maybe you could say. I guess the techniques are slightly different, but they're both being AI processed, okay? It's a difference of how radically they are processed, not that one is processed and the other is not. Now, again, it's up to you to determine if these are fake and what that indeed does mean to you. So guys, I'd love to know what you think about this in the comments down below. How fake are our smartphone photographs? Is it a situation where they get more and more fake as the processing does more and more? That's probably where I would land. Do you think that the moon photos are fake or simply enhanced? Let me know where you land on this in the comments down below. I will drop a link to this Reddit thread as well in case you want to go comment and talk there or give that individual an upvote for their post, because honestly, it was a fairly useful thing that they did there. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more content just like this. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.